Right. So we're warming up here, and I want to welcome everyone who's joining us. Blending traditional SEO with emerging AI search. And the primary goal, lasting brand visibility. And look, everyone's aware of AI. And, Brian, you could probably confirm this, getting 2 to 3 emails a day telling me what AI can do for me, from business management to marketing to social media. And I just don't think it's all true. And so I really wanted you and I go way back. I really wanted you with your brand marketing expertise to really share some of your knowledge. And let me give you a little bit of background on Brian. He is a serial entrepreneur. He has actually built 4 businesses from the ground up in the past 4 decades. And in 2006, 20 years ago, he founded My Online Toolbox, an industry leader in marketing, education, and strategy, and has literally helped thousands of construction and remodeling professionals strengthen their brands and marketing. Brian, we always see each other at IBS and GLC Live. He's a sought-after speaker, and he's an educator specializing in brand marketing, traditional SEO, and emerging AI search, which is GEO. He's spoken at, like myself, IBS, KBiz, JLC, and he writes for Kitchen and Bath Business. Brian, thank you for joining us. Let's jump in.
Okay, thank you so much, David. I appreciate it, and everybody that's joining us here today. My instincts telling me many of you might be passively listening. I do suggest you to just pause for at least the straight 30 minutes. I tend to be a fairly type A, detailed-oriented personality, so the screens will be changing, and I want you to benefit from what I'm showing as well as what I'm speaking. So when I come directly to my website, and I talk about growing your business with more quality leads, I have to ensure that you realize everything I stand for 40 years is focused in on more quality, not just more. And you're going to see this as we go deeper and deeper. And so when we are talking about brand marketing, I have to let you know that brand marketing defines who you are. The SEO and GEO, search engine optimization, and GEO, which stands for Generative Engine Optimization for the AI world, help the right people find you. And when the two work together, quantity becomes less important because quality naturally increases. And the objective isn't to increase website traffic or social visits to get likes and loves, it's to increase profitable opportunities. And a lot of people lose sight of that when they think about technology. You have to build a recognizable brand with a unique value proposition first. And I encourage you to take a moment at one point when we're offline to learn what a unique value proposition means, because too many people feel they express themselves uniquely, but they don't realize that other people don't hear that uniqueness. And that is something that takes time to stand out. So after you create a unique value proposition, that's when you let the SEO and GEO and all other forms of marketing tactics amplify the message so the right homeowners and businesses find you at the right time. The result will be fewer unqualified inquiries and more projects matching your expertise. There's a lot of topics here, and rarely do I read word for word, but I had to come up with this in order to keep track of the time here. But we're in an unprecedented opportunity for long-term brand growth. Marketing must be first, technology second. Unfortunately, too many people have technology supporting their marketing strategy, but they're using it instead to define their marketing strategy. And that's where we teach people to take a step back and not focus on tech, but focus in on who they are. A lot of people need to realize that industry specific expertise matters. understanding the unique nuances of the remodeling and construction industry leads to better marketing decisions. And on top of that is knowing the business behind the brand. Effective marketing requires understanding your company, your customers, and what differentiates you from your competitors. You need to build a brand that outlasts technologies. Marketing decisions that create value long after the website developer, SEO or GEO provider, or even a social person has moved on is something you need to protect. Too many times people treat it passively and they don't realize that there's people making decisions, which I'm going to share in a moment, that are going to impact you down the road long after they're gone. Your technology should support your 1 to 5 year brand growth map. Every website update, SEO or AI initiative, social posts should align with your long term business goals, not trying to hit short term technical objectives. Too many people feel compelled to make X amount of social posts per day or week or month, X amount of website updates, X amount of SEO or AI updates. And when you're pressured for the quantity, your quality will suffer. And then another topic, which is going to show something really cool at the end, is how to avoid analysis paralysis. No single report is going to tell you the whole story. Successful marketing will evaluate multiple data sources and balance your short term performance with your long term brand growth. So, what we like to let people know is that analytics can be misleading. Numbers without any context will create a false confidence. And what we like to do is show what's happening that we see with many of the new reports coming out, that you'll see something with a perfect graphical orientation of that your website traffic increased 230% this month. Great job. And there's explosions and fireworks and whatnot. And the reason why it could be misleading is that the higher traffic is coming from lower quality sources. Your visitors might be leaving quickly, but they, more importantly, don't lead to a real opportunity. And what we want you to realize is that the takeaway when it comes to analytics is don't be misled by inflated metrics. You have to focus in on the data that drives real opportunities. And I'm going to introduce that in a moment. But this is something that the reason why I'm showing it is it seemed to have generated a lot more responses when I posted it almost 3 years ago about false victories by tech people, a real example to maintain accountability. And I'm going to get into this, what stimulated it by it took us years to help grow a company. And then what happened was, and this has been happening very frequently, people say, "Oh, my spouse, my girlfriend, my kid, a friend has joined the company to help with the marketing." And right there, it takes a lot for people to realize that they're helping with something that's controlling the most valuable asset of your company, which is not future leads, it's your brand. And as this transition started to take place and we were becoming frustrated, I needed to use a good example because it took us years. The company was on a roll. And then they said, "Hey, our kid's joining the company to help out." And immediately, and I'm going to make you see this in a short amount of time, and I used a 90-day comparison that we showed that within 90 days, they were able to increase the number of visitors by 890%. And then out of that 890%, 200 of them became I'm sorry, 200% of them became engaged. So the lower numbers were our numbers, the bigger numbers were their numbers. But we're going to get into the gotcha in a few seconds, because what I want to do is make believe that the world isn't, there is no negativity to talk about, and show you metrics that really matter as it relates to your brand, and why most people don't want to talk about them because it's one of the hardest things to talk about. And what we're looking at, this is a traditional Google Analytics report available for free, but the data is not. It takes years to accumulate. But there's two areas, actually three, excuse me, but there's three areas here. One is called engaged sessions, and engaged sessions are a stronger indicator that you're reaching the right audience. The engagement rate, a healthy engagement rate, is often the first indication that your brand, the SEO, and the GEO, Generative Engine Optimization efforts, are attracting the qualified opportunities, not just clicks. It suggests you're reaching people with a genuine interest in your services instead of low intent visitors who are never likely to become customers. And the hardest possible metric for anybody to measure in brand marketing is the average engagement time, because it's the most revealing metric, regardless of how people find you, social media, your website, whatever, paid ads. It measures how long they're willing to spend forming their first impression on your brand. So the SEO and GEO and any other alternative like a paid ad may earn the click, but the average engagement time reveals whether your brand earned their attention or not. And that's why most people prefer to avoid it, because it's a difficult metric to manage over an extended period of time. So, using this analogy with this date range, I want to show you how somebody could say, wow, look at that, Brian. You're promoting negativity. And this is where you have to understand what you're seeing in order to appreciate if a minus or a positive is actually a minus or positive towards your branding and your business efforts. So in this case, and I always like to take long term perspectives. So while looking at 7 day and 14 day and 30 day comparisons might be exciting, it's usually misleading on the long term picture of your brand. So in this particular case, we took a 6 month to 6 month comparison. Numbers are low. 400 to 400, 408 versus 468 engaged sessions, down 12%. The engagement rate down 6%, but look at the time where it's showing average engagement rate. Average engagement time, even though it's down just under 9%, on average, from a 6 month to 1 year comparison or 6 months to 6 months comparison over a 1 year period, the person is averaging between 1 minute and 6 seconds and 1 minute and 13 seconds when somebody's interested. That is double the average TV time commercial, and that is excluding the time it took for the person to search on top of that 1 minute and 6 seconds to 1 minute and 13 seconds. So even though there might be slight negative fluctuations, it really doesn't look bad. But then we could even take it further and say, well, let's not just look at 6 months to 6 months. Let's go further and look at 1 year to 2 years. And still, we're able to see on an average 66%, 67%, 63%. On average, for every 10 people who come, whether we're looking at a monthly basis or yearly basis, 6 out of 10 people on average find value. And when they're there, they're sticking anywhere as little as 1 minute and 6 seconds and upwards of 1 minute and 12 seconds. In general, the 1 minute barrier is already a victory. So whether we're off by 1 or 2 or 3 seconds doesn't really matter over an extended period of time. But what got me using this particular quick tip that I was posting years ago was that, going back to this picture where the person was so excited that he was able to show us off and be able to say, hey, I increased us by 890% in one category and in 214% in another category. What he did not like to talk about was this, where the engagement rate fell by 68%, and even worse was the engagement time fell down by 91%. And where my blood pressure was boiling was trying to explain that, yes, while you got 242 people in 90 days to come, on average, they were sticking for 5 seconds. And now, I don't know about you, but for me, especially when I'm trying to purchase a high-end value service, 5 seconds doesn't teach me anything, and it definitely doesn't enhance any type of perceived value that someone might be offering. But the person who was doing this simply couldn't embrace it, and it turned very argumentative. And of course, it wasn't my cup of tea for the long term, because it took us years to build something and it took somebody months to destroy it. And then going back to how we like to show less means more. This is a great real victory. We're showing that less people are coming, whether it's organic through search, where they had no idea who you were, or through social, where there was possibly someone shared something with a friend or a neighbor or whatever. And in this particular case, the gentleman or the company, should I say, was still averaging between 52 seconds and 1 minute and 4 seconds, regardless of the time frame that we're using. And so when we are talking about these lessons to learn, this also stimulated me, and forgive me, I am reading at this point, because it just irked me to a point that it's not really lessons to avoid when family begins marketing, even though that's what stimulated the post a few years ago. It's lessons to avoid when somebody new randomly joins your company to quote unquote assist with marketing, but they're treating information like a commodity. They're not thinking that experience, judgment, and strategic thinking remains a competitive advantage. AI can help provide all the answers in seconds, but it cannot simply compress decades of learning into a prompt. The
Can
danger
I
isn't
can I add
having,
one thing real quickly on this, Brian?
yeah,
Because, technology trying to take the lead, and in a simple statement, technology cannot communicate your unique selling proposition. That is something that you did this with me. You focused on what I was doing, communicating the uniqueness of not only my offer, but my core values and what I wanted to communicate.
you said it better than me. Plus, you probably didn't have as many coffees as I have. You do. You're so elegant. I'm in like type A, 4 coffees deep mode. But where was I? But here, the danger isn't having instant answers. The danger is believing that instant answers eliminate the need to learn. And another danger is believing that you have experience simply because you have access to the information. The experience is earned through years of applying knowledge, making mistakes, solving problems, and learning from the outcomes. The easiest marketing metrics to measure are often the shortest term. One of the hardest metrics to measure accurately is the long term strength of your brand. And I'm putting this in bold. I wish I could even make it larger, but don't let your brand become the tuition for someone else's marketing education. I don't know what other elegant way to put it, so that's the one that stands out because when people don't know what they're doing and they quickly post, they quickly save, that is where you are inadvertently paying for them to learn. They're going to leave you, and then you're going to pay the ongoing recovery because your marketing brand has been diminished and now you have to recover. So going back to my example that I was showing here, where I was showing let me go here. I was showing how you could look at it negatively and say, oh my God, you're down, 12% in engaged sessions, or you're down 6% in engagement rate, or even down 9% in the engagement time. The actual results on a long-term basis are still phenomenal. When we then took it on a year-to-year basis, again, still phenomenal. And after it's all said and done, and we take these metrics, and I don't know if the person's here or not, David, so forgive me. I see the crowd is large, but I just going to go with the flow here.
Yeah.
But this particular account, and I'm always known for taking real people that somebody can quickly at a later time go to the website to make a point. So I just snapped this before the presentation. Yes, it's a nice website, and I'm not going to get into all of the technical topics and strategies behind years of growth. But when you land on the landing page, and you scroll just a little bit down, you're going to find one beautiful little section where it now booking for early Q1 2027. Well, this particular topic, as one of many, has been sitting in front of this company now for many, many years. And just imagine getting yourself to a point that you, including me, I just answer the phone and make sure I don't care how much money, who they know, how they've been referred to me. I need them to know I can't start for X amount of months out, period. It's been that way for many years for me. It's been many years for this particular gentleman, even though I have many more examples. But my point is, this is an intangible aspect of the value of what he brings to the local community that did not happen just because there was a connection to my online toolbox education or any of our consulting services. They took a vested interest into doing things right over and over and over again with or without AI, with or without SEO. And so being in that position is all the benefit of the quality that's behind these metrics that you're seeing over many, many years of growth. So that's just an example of taking technology and then showing an intangible topic that makes us look great today, but it happened many, many years ago, is where the foundation started. I know many of you will have AI on the brain, so do I. So I'm just going to make a point to start moving into a technological direction, which is going into now another company. And I just chose this because I was talking to them last. Tell me about Thomas Kitchen and Bath in Lebanon, Tennessee, specifically using ChatGPT. And what caught me off guard was it was nice. I get a little map. There shows me that he's rated 5.0. But as I scrolled down to try to initially, what I was trying to say, I got distracted because I noticed that he had a 5-star rating, which is wonderful. But I also noticed that he had one public Google review. And then immediately, this is chat saying with only a single published review, there isn't enough customer feedback, blah, blah, blah. But I knew something was wrong. So I went to his Google profile and said, oh my God, wait a second. He really publicly has 95 Google reviews and chat is only seeing one. How could that be? There is an answer, but that will take up another 30 minutes here. So I'd rather just keep moving on for to show the diversity. But we said, well, since chat is a competitor through Microsoft, is a competitor of Google, let's just jump to Gemini, do the same thing. Same exact question. Tell me about Thomas Kitchen and Bath in Lebanon. It shows a 5-star review, but I didn't notice the quantity of reviews. So I quickly said, what was the next question? Tell me more about the Google reviews. And Gemini is not talking about quantity first. Gemini is pulling through Google the results of what people say on top of whether it's 1 star, 3 star, 5 stars. So that wasn't good enough for me. So then I said, how many Google reviews are there? And Gemini, at least as of this morning, says there are currently 12 Google reviews. So now we have Google owns it in one area. They own Gemini, and that area thinks there's only 12. And Microsoft and Chat thinks it's one. My point is, it's a number that doesn't move that fast. All of you know that you could only get so many reviews in a week or a month or a quarter type of thing. So since this is not moving like the stock market, why is it not accurate? Keep that question in mind. But I'm never going to tell the gentleman stop getting Google reviews because AI is confused. That is something that you have to realize, and it's going to get worse in a moment. So now let's use me. I've been doing this for years and I will continue until I'm in the ground. And using this example is my personal credit. And what the reason why I like to show it is if you log into Visa, I see that I have an 822. And if I log into American Express, I have an 850. Both are using the same exact AI data from Experian. So I could sit there and go, what's the difference? I don't know, but I do know that Chase is constantly trying to sell me services to improve my score. So I sign up to figure out, well, how do I improve my score? And after I click away, all of a sudden it tells me, we're sorry, we can't even provide you an action plan. So why are they bringing me down from perfect, telling me I can improve myself, but at the same time, they can't generate a plan? The reason why they can't generate a plan is behind the scenes with Experian's AI data. First of all, my credit history as of July is 30 years and 3 months as the age of my oldest account, and my payments being late are never. Through 9/11, through being in the hospital, through being on the vacations, I have never missed a payment for 39 years and 3 months. So the brand of Brian and Money, period, is I do it on time. And I'm not going to change my habits due to the next version of what AI tells me to do. The brand of Brian, with or without technology, says when I borrow $1 or I borrow $50,000, I pay it off after 30 days. And it's been something that I was trained on, and it's never going to change. You need to realize all of these reporting mechanisms. Chase is a big company, Amex is a big company. When using the same data, they come up with different results on the most simplest metric. And now, after 39 years, maybe when I hit 40 years, as a 40-year anniversary, Chase will finally give me a perfect score. But I don't know what else to do. And that's something you need to keep in mind, to not chase the technology. You need to chase the principles. Do not get distracted on the AI. I don't mean distracted in a point that you don't use it. but be aware the demographics of your potential customers today. Right now, the majority are still using traditional SEO, excuse me. The minority are using AI oriented tools. Depending who you talk to, and no matter where you search, you're going to find somewhere between 10 and 25% of the age demographic of homeowners are using AI results, and the balance is using traditional SEO results. So while we want to chase AI, we don't have to be obsessed with it as the only answer, because the majority of the people who are going to be buying your services, at least in the next year, are using the older methods. Of course, the younger generation will fight us tooth and nail on why AI is the only thing, but that generation would have told you TikTok was the answer just a year ago, and then Facebook paid ads was 2 years ago. So you need to realize that the people that are pushing the technology are not the people writing checks to you in this industry. So keep that in mind, and as an awareness of your target audience is different than the people who want you to embrace a technology that is growing. And again, we're not avoiding it. We're just saying you don't have to stop what you're doing to bring business in over the next year or two. You just need to slowly start to be aware of it and add to it, but don't discount the people who like to buy from you today using the traditional search methods. Using another company called Zetro to make a point. Very diversified company, both residential and commercial, going right back to the same scenarios that I'm not showing it through traditional search. I'm throwing it through the emerging search. Tell me about Zetro. And when we go through the cycle, the same thing about the maps, 5-star review, comes in with their breakdown of who they are, their residential services and commercial services. But where I wanted to get to is showing they have everything from a design philosophy, a budget transparency, reputation. But as we went further, you need to realize the tools change based on your personal habits. In my case, when I'm doing research for anybody who may talk to me, my perception of looking at Zetro is different than a homeowner or a business looking for his services, because I am focusing in on the marketing aspects of his business, not the consumer aspects all the time. And I float back and forth. But in this particular case, it sensed that I was researching his marketing background, and immediately it was saying, given your interest in SEO, GEO, and remodeling websites, Zetro is a good example of a contractor that combines quality project photography, and here's the kicker, detailed human written project descriptions. If you go to his site, it is years in the making, and 99.5% of his site is through his words that were, of course, given to other people like myself to make them be amplified, but we weren't using tools to tell his story. It's impossible to explain, but I want you to see, for those of you who are a little curious about what's going on behind the scenes with AI, I'll use the easy example and then scare you with the hard examples without getting all teched out here. This chart, this little bar, it just changed through Google. And now when you look at Google, you look at Chat, Gemini, or any other of the tools you want, they basically say, ask anything. It doesn't matter what you ask. It's an open, wild, wild west. So what I'm going to do is use a simple example to then scare you for the hard examples. When we come here and say, well, okay, I'm going to add a file and I'm going to do one. There's all these different options. I'm going to add a photo, and I took a beautiful picture that someone did, and then all I did was say, fill in the dirt area to make it look like more grass has grown in. Now, a wonderfully beautiful picture. That's great. I can't wait to put it on the website. I would never let my client put it on the website, because two things. One, I already know it's fake. I don't want to distract us again how I know it. How I visually knew it, but the tools know it too. So please keep in mind, if you're in a rush to use a tool to do fakeness, the tools are already advancing to even sense the fakeness. So take a moment to realize that people are feeling compelled to show it's a perfect world, but whether most of the people here are remodelers, builders, possibly specialty contractors, we all are not in a perfect world. You don't have to present a perfect world. And if you do, people start to question what they're seeing. So using this, and I knew it was fake, I went back and said, remove some of the grass so it looks 50% more grown in, what did I write? Grown in, oh, than the original, but 50% less grown in than the newest version. But here's the reasoning why. Remember, I started here, I made it look beautiful. Now I said, let's make it a little bit less where it's right in between. The difference of what you're seeing is not the grass. Look on the left hand side and notice when it was trying to make it perfect, it took away the shadows of everything on the left hand side. This is a simple example of how bad the mistakes are because the tech folk are doing the same thing when they don't know something from you. They ask a question, they get an answer. They're not really sure what the answer is. They then use another tool to create a layer of SEO and GEO optimization. They then use a third tool to embed it into the code. And then they use a fourth tool called an update to you to say, hey, check out all the stuff I did for you, all built on the foundation of mistakes. Keep that in mind because it's happening and it's already past tense. And I'm the recipient of the phone calls of people saying, I don't understand why, after the last 6 months to a year, everything has fallen off the face of the earth. And of course, the programmer left, they changed jobs, they come up with some BS excuse, and it's always the same thing: a lack of communication between the owners and the tech folk, pressure to deliver stuff based on time, and no one is saying, take all the time you need, do it right, and if you have to wait for me, wait for me. The younger generation doesn't want to hear it. And if you think that they're not cutting corners, you're out of your mind. Just think about how they take a text. Everything is shorter, quicker, and lack of communication is really going to hurt you. This simple example is the easiest. If I went deeper, we would be on the phone until sunset on examples of what people are doing to manipulate information, which is your brand, incorrectly. They're creating images on their own. They're writing and editing the code on their own and not double checking. And then when we go back to Zetro, here's the kicker. Zetro has been in business for many, many years. Their website's about, I think, 10 years old. But here, the marketing aspect says, oh, they are SEO, GEO content depth is strong. It's misleading because we have done nothing on his website relating to the GEO world other than having 100% unique content. He's now updating the technology to add a layer of GEO related topics, but he's benefiting from the past decisions before any AI related topics existed. I want to let people know that on a weekly basis, I did this. It also stimulated a lot of debate. I do a weekly quick tip. I'm now up to 431 on Facebook. I encourage you to either Facebook or YouTube follow us there for a weekly quick tip. Last week, we were talking about laughing all the way to your marketing agency's bank. A lot of people like to focus in on money and how much you allocate towards marketing. We were talking about how that 3 to 7% rule is outdated, and we prefer people to spend a lot less and focus in on the quality of what they do to be able to get better long-term results. We also have on Instagram, we just did our 280th weekly featured projects, not cool projects, but cool marketing projects. So if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see the tactics that people are using, not to just keep pumping it out, but pumping it out correctly. Last but not least, I could only introduce this to you. I wish I had more to say, but in about 90 days, we're known for our marketing education classes. They've been going through a massive overhaul. All of the basic and advanced classes are going to be announced on the newest versions in a few months. David will be able to do a communication to make you aware of that availability when that comes. It is not just the tech. It is everything to do with the brand of your business mixed with the technology. And I've been doing this an awful long time. And everywhere you go to research me, even though you might see me associated with marketing, or you might see me associated with websites or SEO or even AI, you'll always notice that we were talking about positioning your brand, in this case for AI search engine success. So I have a couple of tricks for you to be aware of. There's a set of trick questions for a new marketer, whether it's websites, social, SEO, GEO, doesn't matter. Just start with asking them, what's your favorite search tool? Then follow up with what's your favorite reporting tool? And end with this question. I'm very busy, so how are you going to create content for our marketing? The answer to the third question is the answer to your future. Because if they don't tell you, hey, I don't care that you're busy, I need you to answer these questions on a continuous basis. Whether that means weekly, monthly, or quarterly is up to you. But if you disconnect from the person who's going to represent your brand, it's much better to just just go do something else because everybody's lying to one another. They are going to use tools to represent your unique value proposition, and it's never going to last more than a week or a month or a quarter, but it's not going to be lasting for years. And if you're separately, if you have an existing marketing firm, websites, SEO, and GEO, great question to ask them. Everyone talks about AI for new clients. I'm more interested in what happens to the old ones. What's your strategy for bringing every pre AI client up to today's SEO and GEO standards? That answer is going to dictate whether they even have a minute to think for you because a lot of people need to catch up for past mistakes and they're making up their strategies as they go along. And that is something to know whether they're going to have time for you going forward if they're still trying to recover for a few hundred people from the past. And my name is Brian. I also have something I want to share here that David titled this, rightfully so, as blending traditional SEO with emerging AI search for lasting brand visibility. But I want to make a point here, and where is it here? David's been doing his exit strategy business for a long time. He has a bigger nut to crack than me. And for anybody listening to this who came through the My Online Toolbox channel and not through the Contractor Transition Strategies channel, he targets minimally 3 years of planning to be able to begin an exit transition. In a marketing perspective for brand marketing, I'm always focusing in on 1 to 5 years. So they overlap. And that's what I was talking about when I was with David this year, coincidentally at the IBS show, talking on different topics. So I wanted to take a joint picture that we had together in the hallway and then superimpose it on a new, what I like to call David's title, what should be David's title for this webinar would be Protect and Grow Your Brand for a More Opportunistic Exit Strategy. I think that that is very becoming for him and well deserved because if your brand isn't strong, your exit strategy is not going to happen. But if you have a strong brand, yes, of course, he's going to have many other operational topics to talk about. But without a strong brand in front of a strong company, you're not going to have a successful exit. So I want to thank him for his dedication for a more difficult job than myself, should I say, since his starting point is 3 years and mine is 1 year. And I wanted to thank him for bringing us here and also reminding everybody that there will be a set of opportunities being presented to you in a few months that David will reach out or I will reach out, depending how you found out about this presentation, to ensure that whoever is touching your marketing, whether it's the websites, whether it's the technical side of SEO or GEO or your social media, make sure they understand the brand. And that is something that we're going to be repackaging all of the classes that will be ready for 2027 and 2028 coming out in about 90 days. And I thank you all for paying attention to me for this quick 30-minute session. And thank you again, David, for putting it all together. And if anybody wants to throw any questions my way, I'm ready.
Yeah, please, Brian. It's really enlightening. To really, we always think technology is going to make things easier. And what you've highlighted, and this is really valuable, which is we're in a relationship-driven business. People hire us when they trust us. So how are we communicating? I mentioned our unique selling proposition. How are we communicating authenticity? How are we communicating our core values, which is really what our core clients want to see? Can I trust you? Will you do what you said you're going to do? All right. Will the outcome meet or exceed my expectations? And that's where personal attention, a tech person in his 20s, they may not get it. And I'm doing a quick summary of what you said. And this comes back to that tech person understanding what you bring to each one of your clients. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, yeah, and it's not just a tech person because there's people, and I'm not sure how many listeners are here, and I'm not looking to insult anybody who is joining their company to help with the social media, the websites, the technical side. But there's been a transition, and I kind of go back to me when I'm a writer, and I've gone through, no one's ever asked me whether I like Word or Doc or Chalk, but I'm published in many magazines. But now with AI, people are typing in one and two sentences, creating a 10 paragraph explanation. They're putting the titles there. They're then saving it as a blog, and they feel that they know the business, they feel they're a writer, and they feel that they're uniquely representing the company that they work for.
Wow.
And everything is so bad that I would turn around and say, so if Hemingway was was sitting in Key West with his little typewriter, would we just say, well, we don't need you anymore to write a book, to write a novel? The technology is making people feel that they understand marketing, which is not the same thing with the word processor. Just because you know a word processor doesn't mean you know how to write. And even if you know how to write, it doesn't mean that you know how to write about a particular industry. And it goes on and on with that. Too many people have feel that their knowledge of putting in a sentence into a tool implies their experience with the result. And when they're representing you both cosmetically and technically, and the owners are not looking at the technology, 1 to 5 years go by, and when that hits, and it's been hitting people very fast. The way search engines worked in the past is not the way the new search engines are working. And I tell people, I've done this too. I'm a very hyper person. I guess it's a pro and a con, is that everybody who talks to me knows what I'm thinking. It's just standard. I go to bed with a clear head, but once in a while, I just wish I would have said something slightly different because my emotions were coming out ahead of how I'm expressing myself. But the problem is, we're dealing with a generation that doesn't answer the phone. We're dealing with a generation that looks at things and everything is shorter, shorter, shorter. And you guys are in a business that requires time to explain what you're doing. It's taking you 10, 20, 40, 50 years to get all this experience on the who you are and what you do and all the challenges you hit. And just because even me with all my experience, I see pictures and videos and I still call up owners to say, I'm good at what I do. I've been doing this for 40 years, but I still need to talk to you
Yeah.
because between these two videos and five pictures, something's off. And a lot of times I've seen everything. I've seen people, make mistakes that they're on three different projects and they put the wrong kitchen in the wrong folder and it was just a mistake. It wasn't, but I was just looking and it just something didn't match. I'm just using a simple example. And without that ability to appreciate all of these details, they go so fast to prove they did something, comma, without warning you, there's a chance 1 to 5 years from now you're paying the price. With me, I tell people you need to wait. I'll wait a day or two or a week in order to benefit next year.
We just got a great question from Elena, piggybacking what you've been saying. They've been in business for over 15 years, have over 80 reviews, but only five of them are on Google. What's your recommendation for getting better AI reviews?
Well, the good news is I don't know where those 80 are, but I'm hoping that a few are like on Facebook as a good example, because people do get Facebook reviews, and Facebook reviews are now trickling through to Microsoft's Bing, and that is now slowly trickling through to chat as an example. And so, depending on where the reviews are, first of all, if you can get a review, I don't care how you get it, you get it. Number one, that's the first thing. And if you could get a video review, that's going to be the best one ever, because putting somebody's voice other than your own behind a review is great. And what I mean by that is when it's a written review and you read, you still hear your own voice, even though it's coming from somebody else. But if it's a video review, you hear somebody else speaking. And so that takes precedence. But say you have a few, I'm just making it up, on Yelp, which I don't like, forgive me, or you have a bunch on Google, then you have some on Facebook, you could still have a reviews page on your website and just copy and paste them there and put them
Yeah.
there. And then, of course, just give, a very small asterisk of taken from our Google profile, taken from our Facebook profile, and accumulate them that way onto one page and just bring them all together on the main website page
Good suggestion.
and
Um,
optimize them too.
Terrific.
Separate topic. Putting them there is cosmetic appeal. Optimizing them is a separate topic, but then you would have them all uniform on a place that you could always guide people to your site, which is your home base.
When you say optimize, quick summary.
Um, there's SEO and GEO code that tells the search engines this is a review.
Okay.
Even though you're putting it on, in your mind, a review page, you have to put, excuse me, in the code, this is a customer review.
Okay.
It's often overlooked.
Yeah, no kidding. Are there any other questions? You got Brian online here, and boy, I just can't emphasize enough the personal aspects that need to be communicated, and technology may not be doing that. And your comment, because I don't know how many hours we spent on the phone, Brian, when you helped me with my website. But you were really drilling into what do I do? Why do I do this? Why does it work? Why is it important?
Well, do you mind me
You
giving
wanted to understand.
can I give a little bit of extra without making you feel bad? Because everybody's been in the same seat as you.
Yeah,
Um, I knew David for many years. We were in a mastermind group together. And mind you, we were talking once a month, everybody sharing ideas. And a few years went by. And then one day, David and I were just talking, and it hit me. I didn't know what he did. And that's a scary situation where he knows what he's doing. I thought he knew what he was doing, but what he stood for. And when I said, I'm looking at your site and it doesn't hit what I think you're trying to say. So then
yeah.
he took a step back, and it's very similar to, I think I see here, who's here? I think I can see with the head ears there. There's Daniel Masters here. Same scenario. Yep, there he is. Okay, looking like RoboCop. There he is. Okay, Mass Builders happen to be here. Same scenario. He was much better at what he did in the field than how he expressed it to the outside world.
Yeah, yeah,
And that doesn't mean it's not an insult to anybody because it's just a habit, especially when they're better at their job than they are at marketing. So, using you as a great example, that you've gone through the same thing as everybody else, that you were really good and still are at what you do. And now you present it really well. But a few years ago, you were so caught up in your business that it took a moment to step outside of yourself to say, how does everybody else but me see me? And it
yeah,
takes
yeah.
a moment. It just does.
I wanted you to know, Elena responded. They're in Facebook, Angie, and Yelp.
Okay. Well, Angie, you have to end that way. My God. Okay. We all know. Well, everybody just at a later time, since I can't control this, go to the stock market and look at the Angie stock price and then put the word max there so you could see how it's down 97% as of yesterday. Angie is, in my opinion, is one step away from a rotary phone being sold by AT&T, and there's still a few people buying it. So very soon, people will not be buying it, in my opinion. I always like to say that. So the sooner you start getting those reviews off Angie, the better, because with the evolution of AI, trust me, people aren't going to Angie to find you as an established person. And again, I always like to say, in my opinion, just to legally cover me. But besides that, you need to accumulate them in one spot and then give them credit. Say taken from our Angie profile, taken from our Google profile. That's okay. You never want to lie. And also, Elena, to don't change a single word. That's something that I realize that people go to other sites and they like to like trim it down to have that perfect flamboyant sentence that represents what they wanted. If you're going to copy it from another source, copy it at 101% accuracy. The tools do see it, by the way. I always say honesty will really, really help you in today's world. Just keep staying focused and fight it. There will be something negative that comes up. It doesn't ruin anybody's life. So whatever occurs, try to stay, the integrity stays in front of everything else. It doesn't matter. And just fight it. It doesn't matter who's going to try to pull you away because it's a slippery slope once you start down that path. So once you keep that way, again, mostly positive, but if there's something negative in there, it doesn't matter. We're in a business that it shouldn't have perfection and it's how you deal with imperfection and problems. So if something's there that's not perfect, it's okay to include it if it's supporting a positive review.
Well, and nothing sells like authenticity. I'm sorry, you and I've mentioned you, we may be old school, but people only work with those they like and trust. We build trust through authenticity, through honesty, through transparency. And boy, if you can communicate that on your website, aren't you 90% of the way there?
I don't discount not just the website, David, because that's a good example. It's everything. The Instagram, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, all of those tools, everybody's battling to share data with everybody. So if you have something to say and you're going to copy it, change it, whatever, really pay attention to how it's being posted because you just lit another fire for me is that some people rely on one person for their social media and another person for their website. And if the messages isn't clear, it gets distorted when the engines are coming and pulling data from different sources and trying to figure out what's real. So if you're consistent, then you win regardless of where the data is coming from.
Great. Great. Well, we have taken up a little over 45 minutes of everyone's time. Man, I just want to thank you for attending and really enlightening, Brian. I mean, seriously, about how are you communicating your uniqueness? Simply said, is the people you're working with, are they communicating that uniqueness? Are you reviewing what they're saying and confirming that that is how you would say it? Is that another somewhat good summary?
Yes. And if somebody, with these meetings, a lot of times I know what happens after that. There's this I'd like to talk to you type of thing. Sometimes people are a little bit nervous about what's happening. They don't know who to trust. I always let people know I do see this as a four-time serial entrepreneur, that even though I'm a marketing guy, I've had three successes. I like to brag that I also had a successful failure, and that failure, I learned a lot with that failure. A lot of people won't admit it, but it happens when you're trying to start a business and it just doesn't hit to where you wanted. And a lot of times it's difficult to balance marketing, technology, the brand, and money. And I'm comfortable talking to people, whether it's a startup sitting on the beach coming up with a brand new name without having a dollar in your pocket to build a company, or trying to, in this case, I did have an exit. So I understand what David's trying to do too, because out of the four companies, one was bust. One, I filtered it out slowly as the market was changing. And the third, I sold out of before coming to creating my online toolbox. So I'm seeing it with a blended mixture of, ownership responsibility on top of, entrepreneurialism in general, on
Right.
top of money, whether we're talking nothing, a dollar or $1 million, and then making sure that the owner has value at the end of it after talking about everything that relates to technology and marketing and branding. So I bring just what I like to say, a unique perspective to an evolving topic.
Brian, thank you.
Thank you so much, David. And I appreciate everybody for joining us here. And again, if anybody's thinking 3 to 5 years out on where their company may be, please reach out to David Lupberger of Contractor Transition Strategies. We've known him for a year. For years, excuse me, wholeheartedly endorse them. And David won't let you down. And thank you so much, David, for allowing me to be part of this group with you.
Man, I appreciate it. We will speak soon, and people can let us know if they'd like a part two. And we can circle back when the reiteration, your revised marketing tools, because you're making so many changes.
Yes.
We'll circle back and let people know those are available.
Okay. I appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And good luck with your marketing and your business opportunities. And I hope you have a great, healthy rest of your day and week. Thank you again.
Thank you all. See you later.
Bye, everybody.